Hey guys, welcome back. It's Meka from Yes Please Planning. Today I'm going to show you how I made these DIY B6 Traveler's Notebook inserts using an existing dot grid notebook. What I'm using for this project is a regular stapler, one that opens up wide. I'm also, just to show you some options, using this long reach stapler, my box cutter, but you could of course use a X-Acto knife, and my straight edge ruler. At Michael's, they have these. They're different colors. They have them dot grid, graph or square grid, and lined. And the dots are, I can work with them. They're a little dark, but not so much that it's distracting. The dots are really small, so I love that. This book was, I think, is it $5? The Artist Loft brand. It was found on an end cap a couple of months ago, maybe December 2017. The end cap was next to all of the other like notebooks, journals, art notepads, things like that. And let me show you why I think this is a good candidate for deconstructing. The pages are sewn in. I can look at the spine here and see that the pages are, I can't see the sewing, but I can see the binding. Let me show you something that's not sewn in. So here's an example of a notebook that has pages that are glued in. You can see here, you can see how basically that binding, all the pages are they butt straight up to that edge. That's glue. They're all glued in. And if you were to just really simply do like that, you can just rip out a page. So that's good if I was going to put holes in it and put it in one of my binders. But for a traveler's notebook, you need something that that is a larger sheet that has just something bound in the middle. And so this one is going to be just that. If I was to try to rip the pages out, it wouldn't rip easily, and it would literally rip that page. Now you can see it's kind of like several little books in here, just sort of stacked together. These are called signatures, several pages together, and I'm going to try to take apart these signatures. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is see if I can figure out where a signature begins and ends. Let me try this one here. I think this is like the full signature. It's kind of the way that it's separate right there. I think that's it. So I really don't know if these signatures are sewn by themselves and then sewn into the book, or sewn into the book altogether. I'm just gonna take this and then cut, because I can see this sort of some string here. I'm just gonna cut those off and see what happens. I don't want to be too rough on the pages and like get them all crinkled, so I'm trying to be a little careful. Okay, so you see the sewing there. Okay, so here's the middle, and yeah, it looks like it was sewn into the book itself. So I cut the actual binding of the signature. I could just cut this to size 5x7 and then just slip it right on in my TN. I don't even need to actually bind it. So that is one option. Now let's see what else we can figure out about this book. So this does actually look like it's something glued in, but why? Let's see what happens when I take this off. Okay, so the front and back of the signature was glued in. So there is some sort of glue binding. I'm going to see if I can just be careful with it. Just a little snip. If you're going to try this, please be careful with your fingers. Okay. So I'm just cutting straight down the middle of that binding. No pages are attached to this part that I'm cutting. Okay, take this part. So, okay, here's another signature. So it looks like all of the signatures are sewn to each other. So I'm going to have to, in order to use one at a time, I'm just going to have to cut through this thread. And then I can just maybe staple. Okay, alright, so here's a warning. Be careful, don't go pulling and ripping too much because you might end up ripping a bit too much of the pages. So do try to be careful and take your time. Sort of let the strings release gradually and then cut the strings as they release sort of on their own. I think this page is lost, so I'll let that. Pull that. There's a little space in there, so I'm just going to try to cut in here. Look a little rough with it, so it's a bit dented, but that is fine. Now I have a few signatures left, and I decided to go ahead and just take everything apart. I'm going to use a heat gun to scrape off, or to try to scrape off this adhesive that's holding all the other signatures together. You don't have to do this. I could continue doing it with the box cutter, but why not see what happens? Ain't nothing happening. How about I plug it in? Nope, not gonna do it. This is not working out. So I had the heat gun on for 10 seconds and then I did it for like 15 or 20 seconds, and all of that it really did was like burn the book. It softened it a little bit, but that's not worth it. So I'm gonna just keep doing what I was already doing, back to the box cutter. So I guess the important thing is just to really kind of pay attention to where it looks like you have like its own little set of inserts, and be careful not to cut within, inside of this. So cut one of these pages, probably like right in here. Yeah, you can see where two signatures, sort of like insert groups, have been glued together. If I, snip inside there, then I can make sure that I preserve the bulk of the pages. And this time I'm going to try to be a little bit more careful and not crinkle all the pages so much. So this is what we are working with, and it's pretty intact. I guess if you cared about that, you could just, you know, take that off and you'll have a fresh, you know, it comes right off. So you can see all the pages they were sewn together, but since that thread is no longer keeping them attached, it's just sort of the holes that have them crimped together, but they can all come apart. So I'm going to go ahead and remove everything else. So that's the last one. All in all, I would say I may have destroyed like eight little pages. Let me take this loose. It's all the remnants of the string. Let me see. It should be in the middle. So this one was from the very beginning. It's the one that has the index, like the bullet journaling index. So I'm looking at this, trying to decide where I want to cut, because I'm going to have to cut some of the top and or bottom, and then some of the open edge here. I kind of like how there's a space here at the top and bottom of these pages, so you could use it to like write in the title, or you can use it to line it with washi. Instead of cutting top and bottom, I'm going to make my life easier and just cut the top. Now you guys know I like to use a box cutter and straight edge ruler to do my cutting, but I'm really working on being brave about my paper trimmers, because they seem like they're a lot easier. This is the We Are Memory Keepers Trim and Scoreboard. So I think this booklet is thin enough, like there are few enough pages to where it's not too bulky for the paper trimmer. So let's see if that turns out to be the case. It's having some resistance here. Let me try to start it in the middle. This one isn't working easily for me, so I'm going to go back to my handy dandy box cutter. When I use this, basically I just hold down really tight to make sure that my paper doesn't slip under. I just changed my blade so it's super sharp, and it just would take, you know, a couple of passes. And for me, it's more precise than a paper trimmer. So I've got that. Now I want to cut the 5 here. So that's one 5x7 insert. It's not perfect, but for my first one, it'll work for note taking. Now let me try this one. I'll do the same thing. I've trimmed 2 signatures to the size that I need for my B6 inserts. And that leaves me, within this book, that leaves me another 5 that I can use later on. And so now I'm going to, I could actually just leave it just like this. I don't even, like, the pages, they are not permanently together. I could pull them apart, but they are sort of crimped together. So I could leave it just like that, stick it inside my existing Traveler's Notebook strings, and be good to go. And that actually does work for me, but I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can staple the pages. You could also sew the pages back together. That's another option, but I'm just going to be doing the stapling. So I have 2 staplers to use. Now this is a regular stapler. You can open it up completely flat like this. This one is a long reach stapler. So I'm going to put the long reach to the side and use my standard stapler. I know that's what most people use. So this is what happens if you just staple the pages right on top of your work surface or your craft mat. It crimps. It'll either or both crimp the staple, and it might even stick kind of to your mat. So you don't want to do it directly onto your work surface. Instead, and this is something that I learned from all of my friends in my previous insert video, you can use a soft towel as a cushion. You kind of really need to play around with it a little bit like I did before you go using your actual insert and stapling it in there and messing everything up. So I tried a few already. So here's with several pages. I think it's about 7 sheets. And trying to get it lined up right there in the middle. And then just fold that in. It can kind of pinch your skin a little bit, so you got to really make sure you push that in well. So that is one method. It is not my favorite, and so that's why I invested in this long reach stapler, because it will crimp the staples the way that you need. So I have it set already to what should be the size I need for B6. So yeah, $5. What, about maybe 10 minutes worth of work, and now I got some dot grid inserts. I don't know about the quality. I mean, it's no like Tomo River paper or anything, but it'll do. So we got 8 inserts out of this. There's 7 sheets, so like 14 front and back pages, and I'm just gonna work with these 2 that I already cut down for now. And I'm going to cover them with some covers that I made to match the ones that I have already been using. I hope you enjoyed this little mad scientist experiment. If you do the same, please tag me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I want to see your take on it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. And as always, come and say hi on Instagram at Yes Please Planning. Bye-bye.